A long range shot from Anelsa.
He's got it!
Oh, what a catch! He got a catch! Anelsa has nailed it!
Oh, man, a ball!
What a talent! He dragged him!
He was a weak-gutted dog as a kid, and he hasn't changed now. A weak-gutted dog person now.
He's got it! He's got it! Wilson's got it! To guy's birthday! Here's Aloisi for a place in the World Cup.
Hello again and welcome back to the Australian Sporting Cartel. I hope everyone is having a cracker day out there. Hope you're enjoying your Pepsi Maxes and your Maltesers and your beverages or your snacks or whatever you're eating / drinking while listening to these two sexy men talk about sport. In front of me, I've got the Parmigiana Playboy, Luke White. How you going?
Salutations.
How was your weekend?
Mate, it was good. A little hungover, but otherwise all good.
You touched the malt beverages a little bit too much there.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a Mad Monday, if you will. So,
what's your favorite drink of choice? Say you're on death row, you get in the chair. What's your last drink?
Non-alcoholic. It's a Pepsi Max.
We're not sponsored by Pepsi, by the way. We just
should be.
We just really enjoy how refreshing and soothes.
Right, so here's where I stand. Right, I only drink Pepsi Max, Coke no sugar, Diet Coke. It's like, please fuck off. But I think Coke is better than Pepsi. All right.
Clear agenda.
So I'm not fence sitting. I am a Pepsi guy. I've had hate all my life. From people who take this way too seriously. But it would be Pepsi Max. In terms of a alcoholic beverage, just a cold beer.
Any type of beer? Your pale ale? Lager?
I'd be
XBA?
Be a lager.
Yeah.
Definitely lager.
Oh, yeah.
Lagers.
For me, Japanese lager, I think.
Probably either a Great Northern or a better beer.
Seen a significant rise in better beer, in the popularity of better beer in recent years. What is it about? It's the robust taste.
It's a good
Refreshing.
job, and I think if you look at the cans, they look very 70s Australian. So if I'm, punching out on Australia Day, listening to the Hot 100 and Sticky Fingers are playing, like aesthetically, you want a better beer in hand.
Yes.
Like a Heineken, it doesn't add up.
It doesn't have the same feeling. Doesn't have that same hit, does it?
Summer of cricket, everyone's dressed as Richie. They've got a better beer in hand.
I can't wait. I can't wait for the summer of cricket. I'm assuming everyone out there also cannot wait. We've got a very big test match coming up, but we'll get to that. Today's episode is the part 2 to the NRL 2024 season review, March to October. We are officially done with Club Rugby League. The Pacific Championships, it's not exactly the most enticing competition.
Look, if you've got a bit of rugby league fatigue, you're not going to go out of your way to watch it unless, you want to see Sean Johnson play footy again, which is awesome.
That was amazing. How good is that? Sean Johnson answering the SOS from Stacey Jones. Slim Shady is back.
And I think, too, if you looked at it, probably a bit of a disappointing end to his club career, but New Zealand got a pretty good team.
Yeah, man. After such a promising year last year, with the Warriors, I mean, we touched on where we think they went wrong, and we harped a lot on the negative last episode
because we're covering the bottom of the table. So there wasn't much joy for teams finishing 9th through 17th.
Yeah,
right. And it's an important distinction for a legend of the game like Sean that he goes out on a high note as possible. And, it was pretty early on the Warriors weren't going to do much. So.
Yeah. But bittersweet ending. Yep. The last play of his career. Try assist to win the game. It was lovely.
I want it to be a chip and chase or a grubber through.
Can you imagine? Length of the field try.
I want him
Just
to
give it to him. It's like one of those.
I want it to be like pouring rain. Like it's got to be at Mount Smart Stadium. I don't even know where the Pacific Championships are being played.
I think
somewhere in the Pacific, surely.
Yeah, I think they are. I'm not sure. I think last year the final was played at Auckland, where the Kiwis thumped Australia like 30-0.
Mount Smart
What a fucking
Stadium,
ambush that was.
It is pissing rain. And like to sell out. Everyone's got their ponchos, the Joker fellas there.
Oh, let's go Waz,
And I don't know if he steps
The
someone or
streaker.
does something, but just like if you could compile all of SJ's best bits into an 80-minute game of footy. I'd take the L for that one.
There was a try that he scored. This was maybe 9 or 10 years ago. If you know your rugby league and you know your international game, it was New Zealand, England, and this was Sean Johnson at his prime. This was when he was at his best. He had the steps and he had that X Factor clutch play in him, and it was against a pretty good English side as well. You know, Sam Tompkins, Sam Burgess, George Burgess, James Graham. Great team. And I think it was in the Four Nations, and with 2 minutes left, New Zealand are attacking. They're down by 2. Johnson, he does his classic show and go. He does the weave, does the dummy, hits the gap, scores the try to win the game.
Fuck yeah.
I want to see something like that. I'd take, as an Aussie, I'd take the L for that. You know, bittersweet.
Speaking of seeing, firstly, I'd love to see that too. But you just name dropped someone there that jogged a memory. You asked me what I'd done on the weekend, and it wasn't this weekend, but it was a weekend past. I actually, with some friends, went to the Metro Theatre in Sydney and seen James Graham's professional wrestling debut.
Oh, how good was that? I can't believe I missed it.
It was really cool. Where we were seated, we were real close. We were second row from the ring, and where his team was standing, he was right there. He's a big guy, but I thought he'd have been bigger. And what I mean by that is, like, you see rugby league players on the telly, right? And I'll give you an example. I seen Todd Carney in person, and I thought, he's one of the biggest fucks guys I've ever seen. He's a unit. He's jacked as hell. Probably on, maybe some gear or something. It's
part of the Cronulla ped gear group.
But, he's dabbled in, extracurriculars, and but he just caught me off guard. I was like, shit, Todd Carney's huge. And then you see someone like James Graham, and it's like, okay, I kind of expected him to be a bit bigger than he was.
Do you think that since it's been, I think maybe 4 or 5 years since he actually has put on a pair of boots and played professional level, do you think there has been a decrease in attitude towards working out and staying fit? Or when you've passed your, I guess, your prime as an elite player, when you're entering retirement age, do you feel like you can just let yourself go? You're getting involved in commentary work. You're getting involved from a different perspective. You don't have to focus on the physical aspect of the game anymore. Maybe that played a little role. I don't know. I think he's a big guy.
He's not out of shape, but I just, when you maybe where my head was at is because he was such a hard and aggressive player. I probably assumed he was, the same height as Nelson or or
I've seen two of the biggest players I have ever seen up close. One of them was working at the Harbour Hotel. If anyone's from the Northern Beaches and knows that particular drinking establishment, there was a little guy known as Jamal Idris. You might have heard of him. Rookie of the Year 2009. Played at Bulldogs, Penrith.
Greg Inglis Jr.
His biceps were bigger than my entire body. You lay me flat on the table, his biceps were bigger. Huge. Absolute fucking monster. And then there's Sam Burgess. And
Samer.
Yeah. Won't name any context in that, but
he's a monster.
He's fucking huge.
Yeah, see, I had James Graham in that same category, and it just he wasn't. But it was a lot of fun. He did well. He threw himself around. He got slammed. He got hit with a chair.
He was a British Bulldog.
British
wasn't
Bulldog, James Graham.
Great name. Very fitting.
He also dabbled with current WWE wrestler Grayson
Waller. Yeah, how good was that?
A lot of fun.
But it wasn't he shouting like "fuck the Roosters"? Who was shouting "fuck the Roosters"? I heard it somewhere.
So he's a Roosters fan, and so that crowd is pretty switched on. And so anytime he did anything of substance, that was a chant. Fuck the Roosters. Another one of my favourite chants from the PWA audience is North Shore wanker to anyone who is from the North Shore. And it's pretty obvious when they're from the North Shore.
How could you tell?
Because they'll tell you.
Birds of a feather. Yeah. I mean, you can look from a different perspective. I may be from the North Shore. Do I act like a North Shore wanker? Ooh, sometimes. Depends how I feel on the day.
Well, since we're friends and have been for years, that's wouldn't how I describe you as being a wanker. There are other
No,
qualities.
there's
you
other
possess.
qualities that make me a wanker.
Exactly. Just not
Don't disagree with
geographical
that.
Location,
Yeah.
But, no, he was up in the, I guess, the whatever you call it, the top part
top-
of the
yeah, the-
top part of the arena.
Whatever it is.
And he was wearing a Roosters jersey. And the second that Graham gets in the ring, it was Graham's a ginger, and he was just heckling him, and it was a lot of fun. He was drinking the beers and stuff, and then the poor ref got kicked and drops down, and so he gets in the ring, and they did a whole thing, and
Couldn't
it was
get
a
at.
lot of fun.
Should have got Ashley Klein. Get him in there.
I tell you,
Get him involved.
I don't think he'd have left alive because if I'd have got my hands on him, he'd
Yeah.
have been.
I'm
hit with more
surprised.
than a
Yeah, I
chair.
think the whole fucking crowd would jump in and just wrangle him.
What
Go to town.
What a disgrace! But yeah, we're
Yeah.
gonna put a bow on those things and get into the season review. But
Let's do it.
It was great
Brilliant.
seeing professional wrestling and rugby league collide in
Yes.
such an organic way. And yeah, James Graham is undefeated.
Two beautiful physical art forms coming together in one spectacular collaboration. That's what we need to see more of. I want to see some more collaboration like that. Mixed sport codes. Be fantastic.
I think it'd be a fun idea, maybe when we don't have a topic to discuss, to maybe shoot a few names out in the hat and you know, what sport would you want X to play?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
I've got a list of athletes who I think would sort of thrive in a different sport. So anyway, yes.
Season review. Part
Season
two.
review.
You did
Are we
the bottom
gonna-
eight, and that's the top 8, right?
Yeah. So are we going to go from 8 to 1? How are we going to do things,
Well, I
Mr. Conductor?
personally don't give a shit about teams that sort of finish 10th through 8, you may as well say.
Yeah. I don't even remember who finished 10th. Was it Dolphins or something?
But Newcastle came in 8th and they got
Yeah.
smashed. And biggest hit of the season, Taumalolo and Leo Thompson. Fuck me.
Sent him to Cairns.
What a
He
shot.
sent him to Cairns.
What a
Man,
shot.
fucking hell.
What a shot.
That was so good.
Now, I think for me this year, look, I liked certain teams play the way they played this year. I mean, Manly, they finished 7th and, you know, they showed glimpses throughout the season. But I think, you know, for me, it was a 6-team race. And,
That was a 4-team race.
well,
Honestly, except for the Sharks, I feel like the only teams that were really rivaling that title were Penrith, Melbourne, and Roosters.
I got optimistic after the Roosters game against Manly because they blew them off the park.
It's a hammering. Yeah.
And I thought if they could do that to Melbourne, put Melbourne on the back foot, Melbourne are going to be in a lot of trouble. And they came out firing. And Melbourne were Melbourne. You know, I know we sort of touched on grand final day when we were doing part 1, but yeah, it definitely was a 2-team season, you know, and it's hard when you're one of those other teams because you're like, yay, we've made it to September, but then it's like, my memory to end the season is not going to be good.
Disappointment.
Like
It ends. I always said it ends in disappointment for 16, 17 teams. Like, that's the way it is. For 16 teams, you're disappointed. There's one team that's going to come out going, that was great.
I think what I liked about this season when we talk about the top 8 teams is at one point or another, you looked at them and you're gone, okay, they're the Broncos of last year. Like if you look at the Bulldogs, massive improvement. They went on a good run. They're on a bit of a sausage roll. They won some tough games. They blew some teams off the park. They put it together consistently. And so, you know, at one point I thought maybe on their day they got enough talent there. You know, big kick out.
Yeah.
He's enough to, you know, him versus Scott Sorensen. Sorry, one-way traffic.
What I thought really stifled the Bulldogs' momentum going into September was the depletion of it was the defensive record. It was their lack of defense towards the end of the season that I think really hurt them. You know, at the start, maybe from rounds maybe 7 to like 15, 16, they were the best defensive team in the competition. And then they start going into the, you know, crunch time of the season, the later rounds. You saw the massive loss against Manly and then huge loss against the Cowboys. I think they lost by about 38 points. It's going to kill you. It kills you completely. And they went into the first week of the finals on the back foot up against an inconsistent Manly side. They had the firepower and they just couldn't get it done. And it was very disappointing. I was happy as a Manly fan to get to the semis, but in all seriousness, I felt like they didn't Manly didn't deserve to get past that elimination final. And the Bulldogs proved to everyone that they were a serious contender at one point. They were in the top 4 for me.
I thought they were gonna finish fourth.
And it isn't. I wouldn't say that it's a sour. It's a bittersweet ending. You know, you didn't finish 15th, came 6th, got a home final. You actually played in the finals. First finals played since 2016.
Huge.
It's a big moment for the club. And having someone like Stephen Crichton, captain of the year, easy. Matt Burton is turning into one of the best 5'8s. Kickow is finding an elite purpose to his game.
Reid Marnie was the right level of pest.
Yeah, he's turning into like the Mick Ennis pest levels. You got talented players coming through. You got Jacob Preston, fucking gun. Curran was fantastic this year. Like even the young guns like Hayward, like Wilson, and Carraz. They've got a team that can seriously compete. It's just getting the finer things right. And once they find that defensive confidence again, if they can up that next year, serious contender.
I think for me, the Bulldogs, as soon as Seraldo came in, you're going, okay, there's expectation now. They just needed to gel together. They had that first year. It was a minor improvement, but it wasn't great. And then this year they really leveled up and they started playing. I would say they were perfectly. They finished exactly where I thought they should and would.
Yeah.
They didn't over or underachieve. They perfectly achieved.
100%.
But if they don't build on it and if they don't improve from here, then it's all going to be for nothing. Now I'm not saying they should finish in the top 4 or they should make a grand final, but you want them to at least reach the same level that they did this season because that's how you're going to move forward.
That's how expectations are built on. And one thing I really want to touch on that if you noticed from the last few years, if you go back and watch some of the behind the scenes of that Penrith dynasty when Seraldo was the assistant coach, and you saw how the club was managed, how the morale was boosted by having someone like Seraldo around, was really indicative of what he brings as a leader, as a manager, as a coach. And you know what? He's developed such a useful system. He's playing players where they should be. He's giving the responsibilities to the responsible players. He's allowing them to be free in their creative choices. And he's masterminding a really tough mental...
They're very disciplined.
That's what I meant. Yeah, it's a very well-coached, disciplined team. Well-oiled, meticulous. And 100%, you're right. They didn't overachieve. They didn't underachieve. They finished, I think, exactly where people expected them to finish. And going into next year, I mean, there's going to be a few teams that I think finished outside the 8 this year that will make the 8. There's a few teams in the 8 this year that I think will finish outside the 8 next year.
Well, I mean, your stock standard yo-yo teams are Knights and Manly,
yes.
Right? Sometimes they'll be up there. Sometimes they'll miss out, right?
Yeah, purple patch.
Cowboys too, I guess, a bit of a yo-yo team.
Yep.
So, it's do the Bulldogs fall victim to that or do they retain their spot? It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah. Then the team that finished 5th.
Cowboys.
The Cowboys.
Nice return to form.
I think so.
They had a disappointing season last year, but they played well, and there was patches. I think we agreed that Tom Dearden was in or about the best 5'8".
He is the best 5'8" in the competition. I know Munster gets thrown around a lot, but I think Munster's he was like the old. He's part of like he's part of the old bunch. Like he's starting to age out a little bit, and he's becoming a little bit more predictable. He's still an elite level 5'8", but Tom Dearden is coming into an element of his own. He's now had representative experience.
He was Queensland's best player in Game 3 when they
easily
lost.
He was Queensland's best player in the series. So if you honestly look, if you're a Cowboys fan, were you happy with how the season finished? And I'm not mean happy as you didn't win the whole thing, but not unhappy in a way that said like we failed, we didn't exceed expectations, we didn't give the fans what they probably should have wanted from what they saw this year.
If I'm a Cowboys fan, I would be, because you look at 2022, Todd Payton, Coach of the Year, they fall short against Parramatta for the grand final. I personally wanted to see them in there instead of Penrith because I thought that would have been a really good game. They even beat Penrith this year.
They've got a great record against Penrith, even in the last few years. They've beaten them. I know that's kind of around the origin period, but you're still beating a good team.
Beating a good team, yeah. So I think from what they did in 2022 to then what they didn't do last year to what they did this year, it wasn't, they didn't get to the prelims, but I think, yeah, if you look at, the Broncos season or the Rabbitohs season or even the Dolphins season, I'd rather be a Cowboys fan than one of those fans, put it that way.
I've got a question for you.
Sure.
Would it be possible if you were to shift, if you could get Kalen Ponga to the Cowboys, would you shift Drinky to 6, have Dearden at 7, and then have Kalen Ponga at fullback? Do you think that's a team? Do you think that's a team that Cowboys fans can think win the premiership?
If they can make it work, and what I mean by that is, Scott Drinkwater for a fullback, he had 27 try assists this year?
Yeah. Played a lot. The role he played was very similar to that of like a 5'8" or a halfback. He's that ball player, ball runner as well.
I wouldn't define it. I'd look at them. If I'm Todd Payton, I'd put one of them there, but I would look at them and go, okay, how can these three players, being Dearden, Drinkwater, and Ponga, accommodate each other the most effectively and efficiently? Now, worst case scenario is that Dearden doesn't work as a halfback, and so they've got to play him at 6. That means you're putting one at fullback, which would probably be Ponga.
Has to be Ponga.
And
yeah.
then you got to find a
Drinky's
spot for Drinkwater.
Yeah.
I'd like there to be a way, and I think the Titans should have done this year. They had 3 fullbacks. I'd have just put them all on the field. I know you got to defend, right? But defend whatever. But attacking wise, if you've got more options, it's gonna make you unpredictable.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think if Ponga ended up back there, it'd be very interesting. I'd probably play one of them as a 14.
A roaming,
but
utility.
I'd make it like the first forward that comes off, the 14 comes on, and I'd play with one less forward because they've got a pretty good...
They've got a great forward pack. I don't think that's what they're really asking for. That is what they're looking for. I mean, theoretically, this is a team that can compete. We saw them compete a few years ago. Should have been in the grand final. Great forward pack. Great bunch of outside backs as well. Yeah, Talangi. And they've...
Val
It's
Holmes
disappointing.
is a big loss for them.
Massive. Val Holmes has been one of their best. He's one of the most reliable players for the last few years.
Great centre, goal kicker. He was their
Field goal kicker as well. He was the long range goal kicker. Yeah, his record was impeccable this year as well. I think he got. I think every single conversion he successfully got in Origin, kicked them all.
So do we know? Are they going to bring someone up? Is Clifford going to play in the halves with Dearden? What's
I think
happen?
it has to be Clifford now.
Look, Townsend got dropped and Clifford was decent.
Clifford stepped up.
form-wise,
He stepped up.
Clifford's had a very inconsistent career.
Clifford was
And if you're looking to
non-existent in that Sharks game,
if
though.
you're looking to build on this season, I don't know if Clifford's your man. I think Dearden's got to be the guy, and then someone accommodates him.
Dearden's the guy. He's the guy that's got to lead them to a premiership.
Scott Drinkwater or
Jace, Taumalolo's starting to age out now. You're rolling forwards, but you got a young, big forward pack. I think they're losing Finifuyaki to the Dolphins, but they still got Hylam Lukey. He was a freak in that penultimate game against the Doggies in the final round.
Yep.
He was a beast.
he's awesome.
He's amazing. Just a bit more discipline in his game. Same with Jeremiah Nanai. I think defensively he can get caught out, but he is damaging as a ball runner.
He's the best
Deceptive.
forward in the air
Yes.
in the world.
Easily. Try scorer. He's known try scorer. What was his record? I think he's got
He's got a lot of tries.
tries. He's reaching like Khan Pereira status.
He's not Ken Irvin, but he's definitely
He's getting there.
getting there.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, so that's Cowboys were a team that I think
How fun to watch this year.
they say that they would be disappointed because they saved their worst performance against a team that 100% underachieved. Overachieved. I'm sorry.
I know when we were going to talk about teams this year, we weren't going to shit on people this episode, but I don't really have...
Completely fucking threw that out the window.
I don't have anything nice to say about Cronulla.
Like, oh yeah, Cronulla, great team. Shit.
They had the easiest fucking draw compared
Top of the
to
table
the other
merchants.
teams, and you're looking at them going, are they actually going to do anything?
Well, it's funny because they beat the Roosters. They beat the Melbourne. They beat Melbourne in Melbourne. But then look at the other records they lost to the Raiders. They lost to the Eels. They lost to the Titans.
I'm going to bring up their draw just so you can see how warped it was. So
Can't do the math in my head. I know they lost against the Tigers. They got hammered in round 3.
So
by the titular Tigers.
where are they? I'll need to rotate my phone. This is
While you look through, I'll have another sip of that delicious Pepsi Max. Still not sponsored. One day.
so they only played Penrith.
They got
Once?
smashed. Well, they played them
Well, they
twice,
played
but
them-
that's not in the finals. Doesn't really count.
Played them in the finals.
Yeah. They got smashed like 40. I think that was their worst loss, like 46-0, 44-0.
They played Melbourne and Penrith
Mhm.
and the Roosters once in the regular season.
Yep.
Their last 10 games, they had the Titans, the Tigers, the Cowboys, the Rabbitohs, the Titans, the Knights, the Dragons, the Warriors, Manly. That was their last 10 games.
They lost. I think they lost like 4 or 5 of those. I know they lost against the Titans. They lost against the Dolphins.
You know,
They
I know-
lost against the Cowboys.
I know the draw is incredibly random, but they had, like, they should have really won every game.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't get a Penrith twice. They didn't get the Roosters twice.
They didn't get Melbourne
They
twice.
didn't get Melbourne twice.
The finals. So Nico didn't play that well, particularly post Origin 1. He had a good start to the season, but he was inconsistent. I think Trindle did okay, but I think he's very overrated. I have
Yeah.
no expectation for him
Let's-
next season.
Let's just stop the shit on Nico for once in our fucking lives. This is a man who has come through and
Fucking Dally M winner.
Dally M
Have some
winner.
respect.
Established Melbourne system. Versatile. Came through as a fullback, developed himself into a halfback, won a Dally M in his, what I think would have been his second full year of footy.
Yeah.
Probably even first full year, because in 2021 he wasn't playing that many games. He's placed himself into a team that is constantly subjugated by lack of performance and lack of expectations, and he's denied a chance to really prove. And you can say Origin as well. Obviously, Origin 1 didn't have a good game. I think he lacks the kicking game that like an elite halfback needs in the representative arena. But as a ball playing 5 as a ball player, decent. He's still got a try assist in Origin. He still tried his best, and he makes one mistake. He's vilified.
He's an easy guy to pick on.
So he is the most picked on player, no matter what. And like he puts in a good performance, gets the Dally M points. People still make fun of it. Like, I'm sick of it. Fucking sick of this Nico. The Nico slander. I'm not glazing Nico. I don't think he's the best halfback in the competition. Not by a long shot. He's not the worst.
He didn't play well this year either. Let's
No.
call it what it is. But yeah, I think he's the Nickelback of rugby league players. People just hate him because it's fun to do.
It's fun to hate him.
Now it's a thing, right? Like,
No, you're 100% right.
I think they got the most mayonnaise spine in the comp.
Oh,
Will Kennedy, okay, is he a top 15 fullback? I don't know, and I mean that because there's a lot of really good fullbacks.
yeah.
Their back line, you go, okay, who's the superstar? Like,
Brayley.
I mean,
It's got to be. He adds
it.
the spiciness to the mayo. He's like the
it.
wasabi mayo.
Yeah, it's
He makes it a little bit interesting. Not really, though.
It's crazy, right? Like, it's just, I don't know what you do there. So,
Get him out.
no, I
Just
think
get him out of Cronulla. Take them all out.
for them, I looked at their draw and I'm like, if they don't do much, they're going to make up the numbers, and they did. They got
For a significant portion of the season, they had a case to be up there. And then when they got smacked in the qualifier, they played most average. They played their best first half against the Cowboys. They were woefully average in the second. Got through by 8 points, whatever it was. They for about 40, maybe 52 minutes, they were competing against Penrith. That's it. Once Nathan Cleary got the ball, it's over. They didn't stand a fucking chance. Like,
and this is the thing that I love about football, right? Because I'd love to ask the audience and the followers of our channels, like, if there's any Sharks fans out there, what are your honest thoughts on the team that you have? Because we live in a world now where you can be, you can ask someone, okay, what do you think of this player? And I'll use Will Kennedy as an example. What do you think of Will Kennedy? Now, if you type in Will Kennedy on foxsports.com, you can read his stats and say, well, I mean, geez, he's got a great meters per game. You know, you talk stats as if you know anything, right? But I've got 2 eyes and I like watching football. And I watch him and I go, fuck me. How is this guy
Painfully
a professional
average.
footballer? Like, he's there and he does things, but then you watch him, you go, pass the ball, and he gets tackled, and you're like, fuck, like,
Moments of like, oh, okay, not bad. And then, yeah.
this is why the Dylan Edwards and the James Tedesco's and the Ryan Pappenhausens and the Tom Trbojeviches and the fucking, you know, Reece Walshes.
Brave of you to put Trbojevic in that.
No, mate.
Yeah.
Just you know, for a top 4 side, like you want players, and then I look at it and I go, well, if you look at their list top to bottom, aside from Nico, like who's the Flary, they've got what I would consider a very like they're a team, right? There's no superstars.
Mediocre roster. I mean, Ramian.
Are they really well coached? I don't know. It's his first gig, third season.
I remember back with the Cronulla rebuild in 2022 when they got Finucane, McInnes, Hines.
Yeah.
That was meant to be like they're fucking back.
But they played
well together. They were an average team that played well together. On top of that fact that Nico was just the best halfback that year.
Yeah.
And
Talakai was a gun.
oh, yeah, for like
The best year of his career.
that's my representative. That's my representative legend right there. Played 2 games. Absolutely dogged it, but that doesn't matter. They went to the finals, knocked out in straight sets. Next year, elimination, gone. This year, they made a prelim. Nothing. I think it's a mirage. Cronulla are a mirage. You're not. You always look at them and think there's no potential there. I don't think there's anything doing. It was like the Eels team a couple of years ago. Everyone was like, yeah, they're good. They can knock off a big team. They're never going to win a grand final. They made the grand final, completely exposed. It's exactly what we're seeing of Cronulla now. I think it's just there's very little technicality going.
For you Cronulla fans out there, do not mean to shit on your team, but like
Nah,
genuinely
up Cronulla, baby.
because like you know I'm a Roosters fan and we've got you know a lot of flary players and you know cue the sombrero jokes. But then fuck me, there's some absolute bang average players that when I see them in the team list, I'm like, oh, not today.
Satilli.
Well,
See ya.
Tupanua, Billy Smith.
He never plays though.
But when he does,
Billy Smith.
you know, he's a
The full white.
perfect Cronulla player.
Yeah.
Nat Butcher.
Yeah, Nat Butcher rings of.
Just every time I see him, he's
Mediocrity.
got his hands on his hips because he's dropped the ball, and it's like, okay.
But you've also got your world class players to back up that team. Tedesco, Collins.
Yeah, but that's
Watson.
what I'm saying, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's easy for me as a Roosters fan to look at the list and go, okay, well, the great and the elite outshine.
I feel the same. You know, imagine having a halves pairing of DCE and Luke Brooks. There's not much disparity there.
I thought they were.
Yeah,
the
no,
highlight
Brooks
of the
was great
year.
this year. That's why I was so shocked. I was like, he's really coming into his element. I was like a proud dad. I was like, fuck. He's actually enjoying his footy for the first time in 11 fucking years.
So, quick fire. Obviously, Turbo was out for a big portion.
Womp, womp.
As a Manly fan, like happy, neutral, unhappy with the season, all things being what they are.
You know, there's 2 angles you can come at it. You can come at it from a real competitive perspective and say they weren't competitive enough to challenge for a time. And look, in this day and age, you got to deal with the salary cap and you got to deal with player contracts and there's things going wrong in the culture of the club. I think from one perspective, I'm happy that we made the finals. We did play some exciting footy, even though we had some players out for a limited period of time. Still managed to bounce back. I just think it was disappointing the way it ended. I think it was a good season, but I do think we did overachieve a little bit, but it's that overachieving that I think will help us next year. I think it'll help us work on our defensive game a little bit more. I think defensively need to be coached around. Keeping leads is going to be the number one thing. The amount of times that Manly blew 16-point, I think it was like 4 or 5 times they blew 16-point leads and go on to lose the game. That's going to kill you every time. They win those games, they could be top 4. Yeah, they're losing. You lose other games, bottom 4. So
It's hard when you beat Melbourne, you beat Penrith, you beat the Roosters.
we beat the top 3
And then you
lose to the Tigers. lose to the Rabbitohs. It sucks, but that's footy. And there's a lot to look forward to next year. There's a lot that I'm going to regret. But we've still got another 6 months, so yeah. But looking at the top three, these are the big guys. You know, who else was going to be in contention?
Disappointing end for the Roosters, I feel. If the first 10 minutes of the Melbourne game, you know, last score wins, and we make the grand final and probably ends up being a better game. Fuck you, Ashley Klein.
Real year 11 v year 12.
But for me, like, Luke Keary is one of my favourite players of all time. If you said, okay, you have no salary cap, pick your favourite 17 NRL players, he's in the 6, no question. Seeing him and Jared not get to the grand final and not get the chance to be the ones to end the Penrith dynasty is obviously disappointing. We had our chances. We didn't take them. And we got outplayed by... Melbourne were unbelievable.
It's Melbourne, man. They saved their best footy, seriously, for those types of games. I mean, that was just clinical. They were clinical in all the areas they need to be clinical in. Pappenhausen was insane. I thought Howarth played really well. Jerome Hughes was once again electrifying that spine. And you know what? For the opening 10 minutes, bar the Collins knockout, the Roosters were the better team. They got on the board, they were killing, and then it's just small momentum shifts. One drop ball, Melbourne will make you pay for that. And look, the Roosters had a fantastic year. From where they finished last year, from how little they could have achieved, it was sensational. And that's not just in terms of like team performance. I'm talking about some of the individuals, like Angus Crichton. James Tedesco could have won the Dally M. He was 1 point off. At one point, I was thinking, in my mind, I was thinking Jerome Hughes is going to win the Dally M.
I didn't think it was going to be that close.
In my mind, I was thinking, and I even said this, I have it written down, you can fact check me. I said that James Tedesco is going to lose the Dally M by 1 point, and he lost the Dally M by one fucking measly point. So that's something you can take away.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Fucking useless last game as a coach, and you give Jerome Hughes the Dally M. Well done, champ.
Man, but proud of the Roosters, man. I know there's a bit of a rivalry, the Beaches rivalry. I'm so proud of them this year. They flew the Sydney flag. They made us proud.
They definitely, you know, it's been their best season post wins of
100%.
wins. You know, 2020, disappointing. 2021,
a lot of injuries.
Yeah, a lot of injuries. 2022, okay, again, disappointing. Last year, the run to the 8 was unbelievable. You know, everyone had written us off.
They were incredibly innocuous towards the end of the season.
So, with all the players gone, you know, Joey, Suali,
Manu,
Keary, Jared,
getting Fast and Furious.
Technically, Tupanu
getting
was
the
gone,
Fast and Furious vibes.
But
see you again. You're just calling off into the sunset. They're going away. It sucks. It sucks.
Because you still have the core, but you don't have as much as like that unit. There's been changes and whatnot, but it's been very much the same.
I mean, you have a Lamborghini, take out its acceleration, take out a bit of the engine. It's not going to function as properly. It still looks beautiful. It's not going to be the same.
Yeah, still attract gold diggers and people that are materialistic, but
it's Bondi
it's the high
mentality.
Performance that you lose. So
exactly.
But nah, it is what it is. I probably third place, bronze medals is about as good as you're going to get when you see the way Melbourne and Penrith played this year. But the grand final, very interesting.
So you had, I think a lot of people, not just saying you, but a lot of people had sort of hyped this game up as one of the best games ever. It was advertised to be one of the greatest games of football ever played. Was it the best game of football I've ever played?
No.
No.
But it could have been. It could have easily promoted it as the best game of football you'll ever see because it had the ingredients to be.
I like to sort of like chop this game up into quarters. What did you think? The opening 20 minutes. What did you think? Who did you think was on top, and what did you think the result was going to be from that?
It didn't. It was a yo-yo. the out of the first 20 minutes, there was the penalty given that resulted in the Melbourne try.
Innocuous.
Didn't agree with that.
No, no way.
And so my thought in the first 20 minutes was, this game better not be overshadowed by incompetent, piss poor, and straight up retarded officiating. And that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Was it Atkins in the bunker?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that
was fucking shit.
That try that was disallowed.
Jack Howard?
I mean,
Okay.
I was 12 beers deep at that point, and I fucking seen the ball on the ground.
We're going to review that because there was an alternative angle. That ball didn't touch the ground. And you saw me. My reaction was abhorrent. I couldn't believe it. But once again, I was 12 beers deep. And I thought...
There was 5 angles, but there was one angle you could clearly see the ball touch the ground.
No. There wasn't. It was Dylan Edwards' hand. His hand got under the ball. It actually didn't touch the ground. And there was so much scrutiny being placed on the referee after the game for saying, how could you not award that? There was an angle they didn't show us. There was an angle they actually didn't show us that showed Dylan Edwards getting his hand underneath the ball. And I was vehemently upset when I saw that. Right. I thought, how can you not award that a try that is as clear as day? Clear as day. There is evidence that partial bit of the ball has touched the ground. So you're right. I from that moment you think, oh, is this going to be another game marred by inconsistent reffing and just shithouse calls? And I don't think it was. I think it was a defensive marvel from Penrith. And that try to respond after Grant scored, that set play, they had rehearsed that. They had conducted it, and they'd meticulously planned that for that exact movement.
You're telling me that the grand final was overshadowed by Channel 9's incompetency when it comes to their camera work and just simply existing as a fucking television channel. You know what?
Get up to the bunker then.
Australian Sporting Cartel petition to allow the grand final, and Origin for that matter, to air on Fox League the same fucking way that it does every other game. Oh, can't have the Origin, can't have the grand final. Got to leave that to Channel 9. This is the first time. This is exclusive. This is the first time I've heard this.
You know what we need? We need technology in the ball that activates whenever that hits the try line. There's got to be some sort of magnetism in the try line that engages when the ball is actually touched. Is that a thing? Could that be a thing? I'm no expert in microbionics technology, but could that necessarily be a way to eliminate all this bullshit about has the ball touched the ground and has someone maintained control with it? There's got to be a way. I know we're not there yet, but that's something to propose, right? Is that an idea?
I don't think you could, because
too many variables.
If a player falls on it, if it's weight related, it's going to go. If it's a ball that shows,
there's too many liable factors.
What we need is competency in our officiating, our technology, and our broadcast channels.
ChatGPT to get him.
Channel 9 has not been great rugby league coverage since they had
2000.
Fatty, Sterlo, the Chief, and Matty.
Bring him back. 40 shit.
But I digress. It was a good game of football. The right team won.
4 in a.
Really, really happy for Jerome Luai.
I was happy for everyone.
I didn't realise just how special he and Cleary were. I mean, in hindsight, you look at it and go, well, obviously. But they may never play football together again at club level. And, obviously Blaise Talangi is coming in and will probably be the 5'8".
He's the guy, yeah.
It was really good to see Jerome Luai, who, let's be honest, is a real easy person to not like. He makes it easy for people, but he was Penrith's one of their best, if not their best player this year. He was the most consistent.
He's gained himself a reputation as one of the game's most vocal players. As one of the personalities. He's a big personality, and I think in rugby league, if you have a big personality, you're going to be targeted. People are going to either like you or they're going to dislike you. But I think aside from his character this year, I think his character on the field has been so impressive. He really stepped up as a leader. He stepped up as a player in that role.
He held
His
it down.
Kicking game was phenomenal. His Origin series, he was very close to being player of the series for me. He was very close to being player of the series. I think Crichton 100% deserved it, but Luai, was phenomenal in that Blues jersey, and that's the redemption. Last year, he let the mental weight of expectations affect his game, and this year he was just he found a new purpose to putting on that jersey and playing. And now, and it's such a good end to his Panthers career. Now, he and Nathan, they grew up together playing, they're brothers. And I think for them to go out the one last ride, same with Fisher Harris, you could just see the community spirit within that team after full time. They're all engaging with each other.
That was
beautiful.
really cool.
Yeah.
And what a performance by Liam Martin, who, there was obviously that bullshit with Munster that the media were trying to stir up as, I thought you were mates. They play footy.
He's a fuck, dude. Everyone, they're all...
They might be mates, but they're going to try and rip each other's head off for 80 minutes. He was phenomenal. I very interested because if we put a bow on the 2024 season and as we lead into 2025, I think most teams on paper, the quality of players that are leaving rugby league, like our retirees and etc., is significantly higher than the people coming through at this point. Now, I'm not saying that the players that debut and are young are not going to become superstars. That'll always happen. But I'm saying, as of right now, it feels like every team is going to be maybe slightly less good on paper going into
less
the season
experience
than what they are now. And so that gap's going to bridge, but I still put Penrith as the favourite.
That's a phenomenal point. You're right, because we're seeing a completely different... We're seeing a completely new generation coming through. We're seeing players that I saw debut. Ria Hargreaves, I remember him debut. And then players like, Kyle Felt, Luke Keary. Wow. Like they're going.
Probably Ezra Mam too. He's probably played his last rugby league.
We'll touch on the Mam situation as well.
Sorry. It just
sorry, Ezra.
But
shit.
Get help, brother. Get help.
100%. I think everyone fucking needs help in this day and age. It's a fucking hard profession, but I don't excuse it. I don't excuse drug taking.
No.
It's just a no-no for me. I don't condone it.
But like if we look at the other players that are going to be retiring soon, like your Adam Reynolds, your
Daly Cherry Evans, Ben Hunt.
Daly Cherry Evans, your Ben Hunt.
Michael Jennings, I think he's already retired. I don't know.
Possibly.
That man debuted in 2007.
Aaron Woods. Yelene Gordon retired.
What was it, 2005? Solid career, mate. You didn't play NRL for 20 fucking years. Enjoy Bali.
There's quite a few players that this next year might be their last year. Like there's a lot of players that have been staple of the last decade of rugby league.
I've got a question for you.
Sure.
Does Cherry Evans and Ben Hunt hit 400? I'm going to rephrase that. Which of these two players will hit the 400? Not an if, will.
I think Ben Hunt. And the reason I say that is because he doesn't have a ring. And
fuck,
wherever he lands, like if I'm a team like the Roosters, if I'm a team like Parramatta, actually no, fuck Parramatta, they're not making the 8. If I'm a team like Cronulla, maybe, if they've got the cap, he doesn't have to move far. He's a guy that can come into a team that's a B+, whether he's at hooker, as halfback, off the bench, 5'8", he can get him up to that A level because he's still great, This stuff about the Dragons and their leadership and whatever, maybe that's the case. But if you look at the saga, Ben Hunt's been supposed to have left the Dragons for the last 2 years now. They were going to set him off and rebuild. Then they gave him a contract. Then he wanted to leave. Then he signed the contract. Then they were negotiating for half a year. And now he was told, "Oh, I'm sorry, but when our season was on the line, we didn't think you did a good enough job." That's fine.
He's like the kid in a rich parent's divorce. It's
Cowboys,
no one sharing
maybe?
custody. I'm thinking Broncos.
Well, look, it makes sense.
Does he go for the redemption arc, the Broncos redemption arc? They've got the team to be able to that is capable of going all the way.
It would be a good story. Michael Maguire is a far more equipped coach than Paul Kevy, but I think for that to happen financially, Ezra Mam would have to be sacked, and I think Hunt would have to take a not a pay cut, but I don't know if because I don't know what Mam's on. Whatever it is, it's probably too much. But
the players that are hogging that cap up, Payne Haas, Reece Walsh. Reece Walsh is going to be the most expensive player in the world.
Reynolds is on a bit of coin.
Reynolds, yeah.
You know, the Cobbo, Stags.
They're expensive for centres, yeah.
They got a good, you know, mix. So
Casgo.
Yeah, look, I'd have him at the Roosters without a doubt.
I think a lot of clubs would be begging for his signature. That experience, and you're absolutely right. When I said that question, I wasn't thinking about that. I wasn't thinking about like the logistic impact he would bring. It's more of like he's on a hunt, literally. He's hunt on a hunt. Yep. He's ready to redeem himself. He wants a premiership, and for him to go out a winner would be fantastic.
I think Ben Hunt has been. He's one of those guys, if you look at all forms of sport, he's the John O'Shea, former Manchester United player. Not really appreciated until he doesn't play or he's retired. He's the...
it's a spectacular comparison.
He's the... I'm trying to find a cricket one because that's a really...
Mitch Marsh.
No.
Really?
No.
Well, you know what I mean. He was
very overrated.
He was very overrated for a long time. He was vilified. He wasn't the one anyone wanted in the team, and then he redeems himself with that big performance, and he's just found a new element to his career. He's the Mitch Marsh.
I don't think Ben Hunt is appreciated for just how good he is because he's not a Reece Walsh. He's not a Kalen Ponga.
He's not the flashy
guy. And he does the fucking job. And if you're a team that is, you know, I mean, if I'm the Cowboys and I got the cap, I try and bring him in and play him alongside Tom Dearden. I don't quite know if a player's going to have to go the other direction, but yeah, the Sharks, he's the perfect, like...
He's the guy. Having Nico at 6 and Ben Hunt at 7.
I've got chills, man.
Electric. Yeah.
Could you imagine him putting Adam Fanua-Blake through a hole every second set of 6?
What about Fanua-Blake? Holy... That's a deal that would have to be... There'd be a lot of mitigation in contracts and working out players' salaries and taking a pay cut, because in that Cronulla side, there's still a few players that are, you know, holding up a bit of coin, unnecessary coin. Fanua-Blake's on $1 million. Hines.
I think if the Rabbitohs hadn't made all their signings, obviously Wayne's gone back there. If you know,
little Uncle Wayne,
Had the Rabbitohs, man, he'd be the perfect counterpart to Cody Walker.
I think there are a lot of clubs that
he's good enough where Cody Walker can do whatever Cody Walker does. He contributes or otherwise. I just think
could be a passenger. Yeah,
well.
I've seen Cody Walker's a bit of a passenger, a little bit sometimes.
I think he's just a lazy player.
Yeah,
you know, you rely on him and he doesn't deliver, and then he has breathtaking performances, and you think, God, this guy is as good as they say,
but then
it's inconsistent, right? But yeah, I think he's going to get the 400 because I think he's going to play until he's seen this out. And he went to the Dragons for money and whatever reasons, and maybe they had a shot at making the 8, but. Yeah.
Realistically, I don't think the Dragons do have...
I don't see him going to Canberra, put it that way.
No. I don't see him going to the Warriors.
And there's a 1 in 16 chance he goes to Canberra, but like I don't... I think he's going to try and land in the premiership contender and contribute to win. Manly at hooker, maybe. I don't know.
We do need a hooker.
Probably don't have the money.
No.
Like you might have to send someone the other way.
Well, I wanted, why can't we just find a way to cut Turbo off his ridiculous golden-plated deal? Like, it's a shame that the NRL blocked his appeal to take a pay cut, but I kind of understand it. I mean, it's a bit unethical to have someone of that caliber under such an underappreciated value.
Human being on the planet would turn down $250,000 a year on top of their paycheck?
Turbo, he would.
Well, yeah.
He's loyal. That's what we do. We crave loyalty at Manly. That's our values. That's what we stand for.
I hope Nathan,
Go Daly.
I hope Nathan Brown got another contract. He was your best player.
100% off the back fence, mate. But damn it!
yeah.
Like, once again, he's found a new purpose as well. A lot of players have found a new purpose. A lot of haven't really found it yet. But this year has been
Good year of footy.
Great year of footy. I'm glad that it culminated the way it did, and a lot of, I wouldn't say fairy tale, but there's some endings there people be proud of. You can say the Luai thing's a fairy tale.
I think Ben Hunt goes to Newcastle.
Do you think with Kalen Ponga, All right, if you're going to put Ben Hunt into that Newcastle squad, who is one other player from any position in that team that you would add that you could say they will win a premiership? Because I know that you've told me in the past, Kalen Ponga in that night side is not enough to lead them to a premiership. If you have Ben Hunt there, who's someone else that you grab?
Well, the first thing you do is
Payne Haas. That's who I get.
You FedEx Phoenix Crossland as far away as possible.
Fox League projected him as the fucking halfback next year.
Ben Hunt at the Knights in the halves with either
Jack
Gamble.
Cogger. I got Jack Cogger, man. He's a fucking established player. He's won a premiership.
I think Hastings with Ben Hunt would be a little bit juicy.
Hastings on the bench.
Hastings at the lock, maybe.
Creative
lock.
Puts
forward.
on a bit of. He could be a block player for sure.
He's got some really good young back rowers: Brody Jones, Dylan Lucas.
Kai Pierce Paul. Yeah,
I think their back row with their back line: Bradman Best, Marju, Kalen Ponga, Fletcher Sharp. If you put Ben Hunt there, I don't know if they win a premiership, but I think the Knights might have the most balance room in the cap and upside, and he'd be leading the team.
I think the Knights are hinging on potential. That you're right about that. Like they've got a pretty decent backline. Like Marzu went underappreciated this year. Marzu was fantastic statistically. You throw Ben Hunt to that equation, and you've got a game-changing halfback.
And you got some mongrels like Fletcher Sharp, who that hat trick he scored. I can't remember against who it was.
Tigers?
Maybe the Tigers.
Tigers, yeah.
Where he,
The freak try.
Yeah. Like if you can get a Ben Hunt led team there.
Yeah.
Let's say that, Brayley goes down for the season. They don't have a backup hooker. They've got an abundance of Ben Hunt can play either option. So if I am the Newcastle Knights, I'm going to do what I can to land him.
That's fantastic, yeah. That's a really insightful opinion because no one really thinks about Newcastle, but if there's anyone, if any team is hinging on potential halfbacks that will change, it's Ben fucking Hunt because of the inconsistency this year when it came to Newcastle switching their spine up.
Yeah.
It reeked of inconsistency. What you had? Gamble, Crossland, Hastings, Cogger.
And no offense to Adam O'Brien, but I just don't think he's a rugby league level coach.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I'm thinking
Ben Hunt.
The person that I would put in to get that team to a premiership, I'd get a decent coach in. I'd actually get someone in. I'd get someone like
Michael Maguire.
Yeah, I mean, he's already gone, but that was
there's not much available. I mean, Brad Arthur. I don't think he's. It doesn't. No.
Robbo.
No, we'll keep.
They're getting rid of Robbo.
But yeah, I think as we sort of put a bow on that, it just came to me. I was like, fuck Newcastle.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
great way to end.
And if it happens, you heard it here first on the Australian Sport.
Australian Port. We recognised Dylan Edwards before he was unearthed. We'll take credit for that. We're a big influence on the sporting scene. We know our footy. We know our sport.
Cronulla or Newcastle. That's where Ben Hunt's landing. And if not,
all right, Paul Crawley, I'll have your water nut.
He's the one who
get him on Get this guy on 360. Parmesan Playboy.
I think we'd have very open discussion.
Very diplomatic
happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I should have asked James Graham when he was 2 feet from me getting hit in the head with a chair. Hey, by the way, can I sub in for you tomorrow night? when you got the 11-day mandatory fucking
turnaround.
Yeah. Concussion protocols. But no,
man.
Good season, mate. Can't wait for 25.
I can't wait for 25. Who's going to win? Bang. On the
Penrith.
spot. Fuck off.
They'll go 5.
Melbourne. They get it done.
Nice.
They get it done.
We'll be
they
back.
always do it.
We'll be back here in a year drinking better beer on grand final day.
We fucking will. And we're going to have such an exciting off-season as well. Stay in touch with the Australian Sporting Cartel. I know we're relatively small at the moment, but I foresee big things in the future. And just give us a watch. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram. We're also on TikTok. If you like our TikTok shorts and you want us to talk about vague, sort of random rugby league games, crazy games, controversial calls, we're here for it. And we don't do NRL, AFL, Formula 1, MMA, cricket. That's what we deliver. So once again, thank you all for listening today. Mr. Parmigiano Playboy, it was a fucking pleasure as always. Pleasure to the Pepsi Maxes as well. They have been hydrating us throughout this whole record. Everyone go out there and get a nice sleep. Or if you want to stay up all night. I know Black Ops 6 is coming out. Don't know who's playing that. But yeah, good way to end it. And I hope you all enjoy the summer of sport coming up. Thank you all once again. Catch ya.